I was in the center of the city, when the authorities immediately gave the order to return to our homes due to a terminal rabies patient near one of the busiest places in the city. I returned safely home, but the outbreak had already spread throughout the city. The authorities gave the order to perform tests to detect the disease across the population. I was with my childhood friend, H, at home, and I was talking to my best friend, A, on the phone about it. By this point, the anger had spread through Central America and the United States. A had decided to evacuate to the Amazon to avoid the rage of rapid spread. When I received my test results, I was free of the virus and had to go to Buena Vista Station to take the train that would take me to AIFA Airport. From there, I would move to an uninfected shelter in northern Canada, where they were transporting uninfected people from areas of high risk of infection. H and my family told me to leave, as their results had not yet come. The last thing H told me before I left was, "Live." When I arrived in Buena Vista, after being disinfected, I was changed into clothes similar to a school uniform, only more formal. Celestial with a red bow for women, and Blue King with a red tie for men. Both uniforms had the coat of arms of the refuge. We boarded a military cargo plane that took us to Canada. During the train trip, A spoke to me on the phone. She had little battery left and was deep in the Amazon. She called to say goodbye, told me I was the best friend she could have had, and that she wished the best for me. I said the same, until her battery finally ran out. When I arrived in Canada, I was placed in a white, 5 by 5 meter room with a desk, computer, closet, bed, a small kitchen with a dining room and a chair, and a basket for dirty clothes. There were no windows. The bathrooms were collective, one for each floor. There was a division between men and women, but still, they were very open, and there was hardly any privacy when it came to showering. I refused to make new friends, because I held on to the hope that my family, H, and S, my boyfriend, would arrive at the shelter. On the computer, I would spend my time drawing in paint, me, my friends, my boyfriend, recreating good times together like eating ice cream, playing video games, the usual joys of long-lasting friendships and a love built over years. Things got worse when I saw Hector in the shelter, just like the guy who had tormented me for a year. Just like before, he had a harem of 5 girls whom he manipulated the same way he used to manipulate me. Over the weeks, the wretch began to harass and manipulate me again, this time, to give him fresh eggs, a food item only women had the right to in the shelter, and my only real source of protein, since breakfasts were revolting and mixed with medication to reinforce our defenses. One night, I got up to go to the bathroom to change, since I was in my daze. Hector, somehow, found me and harassed me as I left the bathroom. He said things like, "Where are your friends? And who do you think you can tell about this?" He even pulled my hair. I tried to fight back with a punch, but escaped through the elevator to his floor. I was crying until I heard, "It looks like fate brought us together again." I saw a boy in the shadows. I couldn't tell if it was A, H, or S because of the darkness. After a warm hug, we started dancing. It was like being in the presence of all 3 in one person. The next day, I asked one of the shelter authorities about my family, A, H, and S. They told me H had the virus and had unknowingly passed it on to my family. They had all been euthanized. As for S and A, they said they didn't have information, no records of them. The day I was sent to this shelter was the last time I heard from them. I was now completely alone. One day, Hector and his girl harem were diagnosed with rabies. They had entered the terminal phase. Hector escaped, determined to make me suffer one last time, chasing me to try and infect me. I managed to escape while the guards opened fire. I ended up with a gunshot wound in my left arm due to a misfire, and later that day, I was bitten by a mosquito. I finally escaped to a greenhouse near the shelter. In the distance, I saw the ghosts of my friends, and the shadow of S on the floor. Then, I finally woke up. I was in another realm, and I was having a bit of an issue with demonic cats. Not the innocent, purring sort, these were actual demons, taking on the twisted form of grotesque, sinister felines. And I, quite royally, messed up. I accidentally opened the gate between our world and theirs, and one of the demonic cats slipped through into our reality. I gave chase immediately, but of course, it didn't behave like a normal cat. It vanished, just like that. What made it worse was that this thing carried a disease. Not metaphorically. It was literally spreading a demonic infection. Any cat that came into contact with water started to transform, eyes glowing, bodies warping, claws unnatural. And wouldn't you know it? It was raining. I couldn't just go around killing them all. They were innocent cats at their core, just tainted by this malevolent magic. I knew, somehow, I could cure them. So I found the largest building I could, a massive shopping center or supermarket, something spacious. I gathered as many people as I could inside and cast a protective dome around it. The dome was transparent, but faintly purple, with a gentle swirling glow, like mist trapped in glass. Every time I cast or reinforced the spell, small glowing orbs, about 5, would swirl around my fingers, dancing in rhythm with my gestures. I was trying to teach others how to cast spells as well, desperate to get help keeping the barrier strong. A few managed to summon a flicker of something, barely a spark, but I encouraged them to keep at it. I needed them. I couldn't hold it all alone forever. Unfortunately, that's about where it ended. I woke up, late for work, of course, but even as I blinked back into the real world, my mind was still racing, still trying to piece together a plan. How to reverse the spread. How to save the cats. How to stop anyone inside from doing something monumentally stupid. I had this post-apocalyptic dream, one of those that sticks with you. The world had fallen into ruin, and everyone was dying from this horrific disease. It might have been alien, I'm not entirely sure. What I do remember is how it entered through the soles of your feet, and then, without warning, would disintegrate you completely. Just like that, dust. I watched it happen to people right in front of me. It was terrifying. I ran for my life, too scared to take off my shoes, terrified of getting my feet wet, constantly thinking, what if it gets in? Then it changed, or maybe it was a second disease. This one was airborne, or spread through touch. People started acting like zombies. Aggressive. Rabid. I got stuck in a shopping center with one of them. He'd set his sights on someone and just charge. I remember the police trying to shoot him down. This strange dust started boring through him. A hole opened up in his chest as his body began to decay and crumble away. I tried to hide in a shop. But then a little kid, clearly coming down with it, began following me. I panicked. I ran. Thought I'd gotten away. Thought I was safe. But then I turned round and saw him. Another infected man. Doctors were struggling to move him on a stretcher. He was dressed in red, wearing a gas mask, thrashing wildly. And I knew, I must have caught it. That's where it ends. That's all I remember. There's a virus, one that robs its victims of everything that makes them human. The infected become completely apathetic. They lose interest in life itself, stripped of all emotion, all desire. They don't care to eat, sleep, or even survive. At first, the government tried to keep it quiet. And when the truth began to leak, They reassured the public that everything was under control, that full recovery was guaranteed. 100%. But deep down, most people sensed something was being hidden. Still, no one could have predicted what came next. This sort of thing only happened in films, right? The infected changed. Not in appearance, they still looked like anyone else, except for their eyes. Bloodthirsty. Hollow. They became violent, attacking anyone near them. Not like zombies. They didn't eat people. They simply wanted to kill. To this day, we're still trying to piece together what caused it. In one of my recent dreams, there was a growing suspicion it might be something alien. It's strange, really. This has become a recurring dream, with each night revealing a different fragment of the story. As if I'm slowly assembling the pieces of a much larger puzzle. There'd been a viral outbreak, something eerily similar to The Last of Us. But this wasn't a zombie apocalypse. This virus didn't reanimate the dead, or make you lose your mind completely. Instead, it paralyzed and eventually killed you. It gave you short bursts of violent aggression as it progressed, and within a day, you were gone. And then, inevitably, it happened to us. All 4 of us were infected. The dream didn't explain how or why. We just were. Somehow, we managed to stay calm, to resist lashing out, whether from the virus or frustration. And then we made a collective decision to spend our final moments together at the beach. It was a strange beach, oddly shaped and unfamiliar. We walked around for a while, and honestly, we enjoyed it. There was a strange peace to it. But then I needed to pee, so I stepped into the water. That's when it hit me. I started convulsing, shaking uncontrollably, and I could barely move. I was the first to go. And strangely, I was okay with that. With what little strength I had left, I managed to wheeze something to my mum as I collapsed beneath the water. My body went numb, no more sensation, no more pain. My vision blurred, sounds faded. The last thing I saw was my mum holding my head above the surface, gently telling me it would be okay, pleading for me to stay. My dad was sprinting towards me. Then, nothing. I blacked out. And just like that, I jolted awake. There was this place, almost like a community, though it looked more like a school, painted in bright, childlike colors. Crowds of people milled about, completely unaware of what was coming. I somehow knew that a worldwide catastrophe was unfolding, something fast-spreading, contagious, and utterly devastating. It would wipe out humanity, one by one. I won't get into the details now, it's all a bit ridiculous in hindsight, but the threat was real. And more importantly, I knew Dee was there, somewhere in the crowd. I didn't care about the danger. I ran through the chaos, shouting his name, desperate to find him. And I did. I spotted a small cut on his arm, and that alone should have set off alarms. It was almost certainly from someone who had just turned. But I didn't stop. I grabbed his arm and pulled him through the sea of people. The outbreak had already reached the community. It wasn't all so clear-cut. There were strange, scattered moments in between that I can't piece together now, but the general thread remained. I was leading him somewhere safe. I had known, somehow, of a place that was truly secure. It would take about 4 hours for the infection to fully take effect, but I was determined to get us there. And even though we were completely alone, secluded in that place together, miles away from anyone or anything, I didn't care about the risk. If the disease had taken hold in him, he would have turned on me. He would have attacked me. He would have killed me. But none of that mattered. I just wanted to save him. Time passed. Hours beyond what it should have taken. And nothing happened. Not to him, not to me. We were confused, but overwhelmingly relieved. It seemed we were immune. The safe place itself is fuzzy in my memory now. I think it was a small wooden structure, tucked away in some green, mountainous hills. There was nothing around but trees and wind and wild, living earth. And that cut on his arm. I knew what it meant. I knew what it could have meant. But in that moment, the only thing I truly wanted, more than safety, more than answers, was to get him away from that place and bring him to safety. No matter the cost.